bike strength, specifically courses where you got some climbing. Ironman Chattanooga, you got about 4,800 feet of climbing. Ironman Tulsa is going to have about 5,100 feet of climbing. Ironman Lake Tahoe 2013 had about 8,800 feet of climbing. Let's hope you're not looking at something like that unless you're going extreme Ironman. Maybe St. George, that's probably got a little bit of climbing. I haven't looked at that course lately, but I want to look at specifically bike strength and what you can do to be prepared. And those are with the off-season plan. If you're working through it, so it's kind of the pyramid stuff. It's hill type workouts. A lot of it in the off-season plan is going to be based more off doing indoor working trainers, and we'll kind of get into that. But the gist of it is to build up that leg strength, so when you come to a hill, you can actually kind of be a little aggressive and ride the hill instead of just trying to spin up the hill and survive it. So that's kind of the goal of bike strength, is to attack and not just survive. But we'll get into it so you can be better prepared. So bike strength, usually, typically I've gotten into power, and that's typically what I'm talking about. You can do by heart rate, so it's not the end of the world. If you don't have power meters, you have to go out and buy one. If you want recommendations from me, I can give you that very easily. So I do Garmin Vector 3 on my bike, and then my smart trainer, my hammer that I've got from Cyclops, has power on it. So I train by power and I race by power, except when you get into Ironman Chattanooga 2019 and you don't replace the batteries in your Vector pedals, so you don't have accurate power readings for the entire race. Kind of conked out halfway through that they were good, and my watch told me they weren't. Should have just bitten the bullet and gone out and bought new batteries and switched them out anyway, but hey, lesson learned. So before a race, a couple days before, switch out your batteries, make sure they're good to go. Because if you train with power and you don't race with it, it's kind of counterintuitive, because you don't really have anything to go by other than feel if you're out there in the race, which is fine. But if you're going to train with power, you might as well have it for the race too, so you can be kind of cognizant of where you're at. So I'm looking at power. I'm looking, when I talk FTP, when I'm talking strength on the bike and your wattage, you can do by heart rate, you can do it by feel too. I mean, if you go outdoors and you ride a hill up and down, I mean, you're going to understand what burning quads are going to feel like. You're going to understand you're putting power on the pedals. But you get a true representation of how much power you're putting, if you're having increases or not. Kind of need something to measure it by, to have a measuring stick. So that kind of sets up when I'm talking about bike strength. Generally, this is what I'm talking about. So there are a couple different ways, and then we're talking about cycling, bike strength. You do it indoors and outdoors. The trainer is just as good nowadays, a smart trainer, even the fluid trainer, the dumb trainers. You can click up your resistance on your bike and you can get some good hill work. I got to the point personally where basically I could still sit down and put in a power on pedals to keep it going. It really wasn't giving me the resistance I needed. I think nowadays the smart trainers will go up to 2,000 watts or something crazy that most people cannot put out on their trainers anyway. So most of the workouts, especially for this group that has signed up for my virtual groups, or if you've done off-season plan or you've done race specific plans or anything like that, most of my workouts are geared for indoors. It's just a great kind of leveler. And personally, I like to do the indoor workouts during the week. You don't have to go outside and mess with traffic. You don't have to worry about finding a course that's set up right to do the type of workouts you need. You don't have to worry about time. You don't have to worry about putting on clothes and your gear and getting your bike. You don't have to worry about flats. You just get on your trainer in the morning, roll down out of bed, and do it, and it's done, and you're good to go. But you can't do them with outdoors. You just, like I've mentioned before in a few other videos, you need to know the intent of the workout and make sure that you have the appropriate course. If it's doing FTP intervals, so you need a flat course so we can just change your gearing, and that's the only variable. If you're doing hill work, you need to go find a nice hill that you can last for 2 to 3 months climbing up. If you've got a hill that's just a straight hill, but it only takes you 20 seconds to get up, it may not serve the purpose of the workout. So it can be translational between indoor and outdoor, but I highly recommend indoors. And if you, like I said, if you need a recommendation on smart trainers, especially nowadays, Cyclops, the original hammer, they're still making them new. Same all good in H3, maybe a little bit quieter, maybe a little less from the resistance side, but most athletes don't need more than that. They're on sale for like $700 and free shipping. Go to Amazon.com. Or if you need a recommendation, need a link, let me know. I'll send it to you. Not necessarily promoting that you have to have a trainer, you don't have to have power, but it does make your job as an athlete a lot easier to know where you're at and cut out kind of all the peripheral stuff of kind of guesswork. But typically, like I said, I like to do the shorter workouts indoors, especially for the hard different things too, especially if you're training for a course like Chattanooga. You're going to go out and you're experience rolling hills. If you've got those in the area, great. If not, then Smart Trainer is the best next option because you can download courses and do those and automatically change resistance. Zwift has tons of courses that kind of mimic a nice rolling hill section, or you can just do straight up climbs and Zwift and stuff. So the indoors has so many different options, especially if you're kind of in a situation you're doing Ironman in Florida, or you're doing Ironman Chattanooga, but you live in Florida. You're doing Ironman Tulsa, but you live in Alaska, where you can't get outside failure or something like that. Provides you with what you need, and you can always find it a lot easier. But like I said, you can do them indoors, you can do them outdoors. So if you got a specific workout that's hill repeats, like I said, you find a nice hill and you're right up and down, right up and down, right up and down. Indoors, maybe it's just changing resistance and you're doing pyramid of power. You're going one crank for a minute, next gear for a minute, next gear for a minute. So you're at the highest gear, you're holding that for 30 seconds and you ramp back down. So it's kind of mimicking going up and down rolling hills. So it is a nice option to be able to do things indoors. Another option for increasing your bike strength is weight work. So you can do traditional weights. So you're out there just doing the traditional, squats and lunges, side lunges. I've created workouts plenty like that. There's plenty in the off-season program to work on that strength. You can get later into mobility and functional because if you don't have a good core, you don't have a good posture in your back, you don't have good stabilizer muscle to have the strength to do a bike ride, especially over 116 miles like Ironman Chattanooga, 112 mile like any other half Ironman race or full Ironman race, even a half Ironman. If it's got a substantial amount of climbing, you want to be able to do it over the entire length of the race because the race directors are a little sadistic. They don't just put the hills right at the front and then you get a nice easy ride towards the end. Some of them have the hills like right at the end, and it's just the way the course works out. And everybody's got to do them. It's the same challenge for everybody, building that functional fitness as well. And I have plenty of those types of workouts in the off-season program. So make sure you're hitting those because those standalone strength sessions aren't just there for shits and giggles. You want to make sure that you get them in there, get the workout done, and put in that work, especially in the off-season section where you have an opportunity to build up that strength, because once you get into the race-specific program, you're going to be introducing more volume. There'll be a little less strength work, a little less the traditional strength because it requires more recovery workouts, and you do them, you're going to be sore for the first week. In the second week, you could be sore, especially if you're pushing the envelope. So you just got to be aware that the weights, when to do them in your training, and typically you want to kind of tackle more of the traditional weights in the off season, and then go mobility and functional during your race specific training. And then when you get closer to the race, you don't really do much of any strength training because you don't want to require anything that needs recovery before you're entering your race. The other focus is body mechanics. It's all the face, but the problem is if you have body mechanics that need to be fixed and you're ignoring them, you don't want to face them, you don't want to put the energy into finding the solutions to fix the problems that you have, then it's all for naught because you can do all this stuff, you end up injuring yourself because a lot of people are not symmetric right down the middle. Personally, I have one foot that's one size larger than the other, so it kind of causes problems. I did one time I did find shoes on clearance where they had mixed sizes. One was 11 and a half and one was a 12. And it actually worked out perfect. The right to that before. Personally, I'm not one to go and switch the shoes out anyway, but it was amazing. But anyway, issues like that. So, one leg is longer than the other. And if you have a substantial difference, that can affect everything, especially on the bike, especially on the run. So you got to fix those issues. You got to address them. You need a shoe insert to make one side longer than the other to make sure you're equal. Do you need like a different shoe padding? Do you need special shoes or something like that? Do you need shimming on your cleats on your bike? Make sure you're working if you need a fit done on your bike. Knee pain, if you got back pain, hip pain, something like that, when you ride your bike, IT pain, address that stuff now, especially in the off season. because if you don't fix those body mechanics, you cannot add the power and the strength, and you'll just end up either injured, like I said, or not recovered, or just it won't translate to a better race experience, especially towards the end. You'll be like, I did all this strength work and I still got to the end of the bike and I was just toast. Problem was, if you got poor body mechanics, this stuff really won't help out because you're doing hard work on poor mechanics and it's just not really going to address. So you could do it with physical therapy. So if you see a sports doctor, they're a little bit better because they understand what athletes, what their focus is, that they just don't want to rest, recover, take aspirin and let it heal on its own. They want to address specific issues. So if you overpronate, underpronate, if you got issues on the bike, maybe your knees are a little bit weak, they kind of buckle in. Maybe they can give you different kind of exercises to work the outsides of the knees, get those stabilizer muscles all good. Maybe you need to go to the chiropractor and get some spinal adjustments. That could be a typical key. Over time, our spines kind of compress, and as you can tell, I'm not a physician I do stay at a Holiday Inn every once in a while, but I'm not a spinal surgeon. But between each disc, you got, your little bit of cushion, and over time, they just get smaller and smaller. So if you're sitting at the desk all day and you go out and do these workouts, but you're poor posture and you're sleeping on a bed, or you're just sleeping on a typical bed, and just over time, it just compresses and never gets better. If you go to see a chiropractor, you may have the opportunity. Chiropractor's not for everybody, but it could give you opportunity to disc and everything and kind of get a little bit more mobility out of that spine to be able to hold a position, especially to put power in an aero position. It's going to be difficult if you have a bad fit, if you got bad body mechanics and stuff. So that in a nutshell is kind of what I wanted to talk about for this video, is working on that bike strength. Specifically, I mean, you're going to need bike strength no matter what. Well, a lot of people are looking to increase their FTP, especially if you're doing a flat course, maybe like Ironman Florida, where it's flat course and FTP. You still got to have power to do that. But if you're working towards a hilly course like Chattanooga, or like I said, like Tulsa, you want to make sure that you've got that strength when you're coming up the hill. You downshift a little bit, you can kind of put enough effort into that hill to get up to the hill so you still have momentum when you get to the top, and then come down. And instead of getting to the top and just spinning the pedals, being like, oh, thank God, and I'm just going to coast down the other side, you shift your gears and you're able to aggressively go to really maximize going downhill. So that's going to be the key, developing that strength, and that's going to be the key in the off-season programs. Don't skip those pyramid of power workouts. Don't skip the hill workouts. Don't skip the intervals where you're going up in gear every time. You're making difficult and come back down. Even if they're hard, do the best you can, because that's going to be a key to building that strength. Like I said, if you don't fix the underlying fundamentals of the fit on the bike, or any issues you have to fit with your body composition or mechanics, especially if you're trying to do weightlifting or weight routines, and got bad, make sure you have proper form. If you've got any questions about any of the workouts that I put out there, make sure that I try to put links to videos and demonstrations to how to do the lifts, but make sure you're doing them right. If you're doing squats improperly, you can end up jacking up your back. So by no means just go out there and try to hit these workouts. If you got any questions about them, try to get to your gym, try to see one of the personal trainers. Maybe they run you through a a lot of them will do kind of a free session or whatever. Maybe they can analyze you a little bit. Maybe there's an opportunity to work with them or something like that for your strength training. And I have about 1 to 2 workouts a week, and they take this stuff into account. They want to do more mobility and functional strength than your typical bench press and squats and high intensity, high weight type of stuff. So make sure you're doing all that in the background. If you got any questions, as always, send me a message, send me a note, comment on one of the videos, reply back to the emails. I'm always got my ears open and will respond to anything you got. And with that, we're done talking about bike strength until the next video.